Good afternoon, Share Mennonite Church. Pastor Jared here, coming live to sort of midweek update, connection, highlight a few things as we transition officially back to some face-to-face worship. So we are officially coming back to worship this Sunday, May 31st. You should have received in your email within the last half an hour some guidelines, some phasing that we're going to embark upon, and then weeks to come, perhaps months, as we try to get back to some semblance of normal worship. So with that in mind, this Sunday, May 31st, we will be doing an outdoor service. There are still some decisions that need to be made that are a little bit weather dependent, but we will either be worshiping out from the east side of the building underneath the carport with parking and seating in the parking lot, or we will be worshiping out back behind the building as we would typically do for a Sunday school picnic. So that decision will be made as we get a better, more clear picture about how weather is going to look. If we do end up worshiping out back or out the side of the building, the east side of the building, we will have a row of seating for lawn chairs and canvas chairs and things of that nature. But we will also have a row of parking available as well to make sure that we are honoring comfort levels for everyone who comes to worship this particular week. Keep in mind, we will continue to do live streaming via Zoom and YouTube throughout the remainder of the summer. So at the very least, we are doing streaming services through the end of August. So whatever decision that you make, whether it's to come and worship here in person, or if it's to not do that, you will still have worship available to you, either here physically or via streaming online. So the next 2 weeks, we have committed to doing outdoor services. That is all we've committed to at this point. This next 2 weeks will be sort of a testing to make sure that we are comfortable, that we have the necessary guidelines and protocols and safety requirements, safety recommendations in place, that we are all comfortable with that we're able to live into that. And then once the leadership team and some others involved, council, once we're comfortable with what we're seeing in terms of living into those recommendations and guidelines that have been set forth, then we will begin to think about the next phase, which is coming inside. Some things to think about as we begin to think about inside. We will section off some of the pews to make sure that we are keeping that social distancing in place, that we are being mindful of safety and keeping as limited amount of chance for spread as possible. That being said, I think one thing we need to hear, that I need to say, that you need to hear as we come inside, there will be a very significant, at least initially, change or feel to how worship will be done. Some of the studies that we read, that I have read, says that singing is the one of the biggest ways of sharing COVID. So initially, at least, we will have to think about how we worship musically in different ways. So there's just some things to keep in mind as we begin to reopen, re-engage worship here at the church building. So just to review again, next 2 weeks, May 31st, June 7th, outside worship, either east side of the building or back behind the building as we would do for a Sunday school picnic. That is to be determined. Beyond that, we are in a kind of a wait and see phase. holding pattern, if you will, to determine what the next phase is beyond when the next phase is beyond the 7th of June. And just so that we understand, all other activities, nursery, Sunday school, youth group, children's church, those remain suspended. We will not be doing any of those things for at least the immediate future until things begin to be loosened from a expectation, from a recommendation from our government leaders, those who know far more about this than I do or that we do. I think that is all that I want to say in terms of sort of this re-engagement of worship here at the church building. Please don't hesitate to shoot me an email, a text, give me a phone call if you have questions. Again, everything I think is pretty much spelled out in that document that was sent out about a half an hour ago. And know that our thought, our desire is flexibility with one another, grace, and making sure that people feel comfortable, empowered to make the decisions that is best for them and their families. And we want to honor and respect that. So we're going to look to encourage one another. We're going to look to extend love and peace and grace to one another in the midst of people being in different places as it relates to COVID. So I think that's it for now in terms of next steps, the next phase of re-engaging worship and how we get back to doing worship with one another. For tonight, we've got Youth Connection at 6. We've got Bible study at 7, all on GoToMeeting. Looking forward to connecting with you then. And until we see each other, until we meet again, may you have a great week, great rest of your week. And I really hope and I pray that the decision that you come to, whether it's coming here to worship face to face in your cars, socially distanced, or whether you continue to engage in worship digitally through the streaming services, please, I pray that you find peace. You feel at peace, whatever decision. I hope that you feel peace as it relates to that decision-making process for you and your family. Have a great rest of your week. God bless you all until we see each other again.